Hello, everyone. This is a conversation that's geared towards Muslims. I hope it reaches a large audience, for which it is a very important conversation to be had, and I think long overdue conversation. Basically, the frequency of terrorist attacks, it's no secret that it's increasing at an unprecedented rate. We are seeing terrorist attacks almost bi-weekly at this point around the world. And there's two camps of the Muslim rhetoric that's happening right now. One camp that's very prevalent says, you know, why should we care about this? Why should I come out and speak against this? I'm a moderate Muslim. These guys are terrorists. They don't represent my religion. They have nothing to do with my religion. So I have no duty to come out and apologize for this. Another camp goes out and they say this isn't part of Islam, and they negate it and they condemn it, and they say we don't condone these acts, and they do their fair share, but they're a minority. And thus, Muslims are broken into two camps when it comes to this issue. Now, I've come to address the overwhelming majority of people who say, why should we as Muslims come out and apologize for something we have nothing to do? That's what I came here to record this about. So I'm not going to get too technical. I'm not going to make this too long, hopefully. I'm just going to speak about 2 points. One, it's going to be from an Islamic point of view, and two, it's going to be from a strategic point of view. And I'm going to try to make a case against this point of view, okay, this standpoint. I'll first start with a hadith from Muhammad Sallam. Muhammad Sallam said, انصر أخاك ظالما أو مظلوما قالوا يا رسول الله هذا ننصره مظلوما فكيف ننصره ظالما قال تأخذ فوق يديه وفي رواية أخرى قال تحجزه أو تمنعه من الظلم فإن ذلك نصره. Muhammad ﷺ was said to have said, support your brother whether he is an oppressor or is being oppressed. So the companions around Muhammad ﷺ said, O Messenger of Allah, we help the one being oppressed, but how do we help an oppressor? The Prophet said, by seizing his hand. And in a different flavor of this narration, Muhammad ﷺ said, by restraining him or preventing him from committing injustice, for that is how you support him. So very clearly, if we want to understand this hadith and make it applicable to our situation, it's incumbent, it's a duty, it's an obligation for us Muslims to come out and say, listen, O terroristic Muslim, what you are doing is against the teaching of Muhammad ﷺ and our beloved peaceful Prophet, and we need to condemn it on an intellectual level so that we can stop the spread of this poisonous, Khariji ideology within our Muslim communities. So that's that. It's a clear-cut hadith, and it applies perfectly to our situation. So you can't just keep saying, oh, this guy doesn't represent me, I have nothing to do about it, goodbye. Whether you like it or not, he's still part of your Muslim ummah. He's a terrorist, he's a psychopath, he's a killer, he's a barbarian, but he's still a Muslim. One of the things that ISIS is notorious for is that they excommunicate Muslims. They call them heretics, and they call them apostates, and they do takfir on us. It's the ideology of takfirism, mass takfirism. We don't do that. We don't believe that I can just go and call hundreds of thousands of people, non-Muslim, just like that. But that's what ISIS does to us. And that's why 95% of the people who have died from ISIS attacks are Muslim. Because ISIS comes out and deems everybody non-Muslim who disagrees with them, technically. So we don't do that. So whether you like it or not, these terrorists are in fact Muslim. And that's actually a moderate approach, to consider them Muslim, but we say, of course, they're terrorists and they're criminals. And what they're doing is very, very, very wrong. They're sinful Muslims. And it's a duty upon us to come out and to speak against them and to condemn them, because that's how we stop our Muslim brothers, our very crazy Muslim brothers, from committing more acts of crime. Now, that was my first point. I'm going to go on to my second point. Now, strategically, us as Muslims living in the West, whether we like it or not, these acts coming out of these terrorists will affect us. The fire will reach us. What do I mean by this? For instance, after 9/11 happened, obviously, we all faced lots of Islamophobia. We saw an increase of hate crimes and hate attacks against Muslims, and we had to taste that bitter, taste from all these attacks, for lack of better terms. So we can't always expect our, Western counterparts to always have the understanding and wisdom that we like them to have. They're not always going to be telling themselves, well, this is just a fringe minority of Muslims, and we're not going to be stereotypical, and we're not going to paint them all with one solid brush. Lots of times it does happen. Most recently, Donald Trump, with his demagoguery and his bigotry, he tried to pass a Muslim ban. And it came very close, actually, to being passed. So we live in a very, scary situation. If we want to preserve our livelihood in our communities, we want to live peacefully in the West, then we have to, from a strategic point of view, go out and try to curb all this radicalization that's happening. We need to have an honest talk about all these terror attacks that are happening. We need to find out why are they happening, what are the motives behind them. Is there any, you know, justifications that are coming from our religion? Perhaps there are scholars who claim to be Muslims, who have written, certain types of writings that are causing these radicals to use them and cherry pick them and go out and act upon them. So it gets ascribed to our religion, but it's really not part of our religion. And so it's incumbent on us to go back and look at all our traditional, ilm, traditional, schools of thought, traditional, um, books, and to see, is there anything inside of this that ISIS can use. And believe me, I've done this. This is a majority of my work, actually, is to go back and try to understand the types of writings that ISIS looks back to. And unfortunately, there's lots of medieval texts that ISIS use to commit all their terrorist crimes. So it's upon us to go back and say, hey, this scholar was wrong in this point. We need to say that this is a radical idea, and we need to stop ascribing this to Islamic religion, because the Islamic religion is not everything that all scholars have ever said. Lots of scholars obviously are not infallible, and they've made mistakes. So it's upon us to say, hey, this is radical. Stop this. Stop going back to this. Stop teaching this in our schools. And this is what's causing terrorism. We need to also say that lots of foreign policies coming out of the Western world is making terrorism thrive in the Middle East. It's a spawning pool. Injustice breeds more injustice. So if there are Western countries who are going and they're occupying certain regions and they're using internationally banned weaponry, then this is going to radicalize the population, and it's only going to add more fuel to the fire. So we need to go out and we need to also address this point. We need to address all the multifactorial, multifaceted reasons why this terrorism and this radicalization is increasing throughout the Muslim world. And if we don't, then not only are we not following what our Prophet wanted us to follow, we're also not following the most logical and strategic thing for us to do in order to preserve our own communities, and so that what we have going on for us does not get destroyed. And I hope that, my message will at least ring a bell with a couple of you guys. Obviously, I'm going to get lots of backlash for this video, and that's okay. But, I have to do my part, just like how you guys have to do your part. So, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.